You are traveling to another train of thought, one not from this century and the status quo. You are now entering the paradigm shift. Well, good morning. This is January 22nd, 2018, and the paradigm shift is live this morning. After last week's, it was just one of those weeks that did not go well. Nothing went as planned, and so there was no paradigm shift last week. We did finally get Suzanne in on Friday. I forced my schedule. I had to get Suzanne on the air, and because she had 2 days, she had two different guests that were one didn't get on last week. And I'm really sorry about that. Brian, I know that our listeners are going to love you when you're on. And on Friday, we had a great guest. Love Dr. George, Dr. Michael T. George. If you missed that show, please go to YouTube and get it and listen to it. Dr. George is just awesome. He's written 2 books. I think he might have even written more than that. The 2 books that I know of are My Story of America and Author of Liberty. Both are fantastic, very inspirational books. If you haven't read them, please get them and read them. They're awesome. So now the other thing that's going on today is, if you're not aware of it, I'm trying something new. I'm on Facebook Live. So you can watch it live. You can watch it live on YouTube. You can listen to the show live on radio.co. The streams, everything's all posted up with the exception of see now you Facebook Live people, you're watching me type as on. So I mean, this is you're really getting to see live because I'm actually producing the show. So you're going to see me going all over the place with the board over here, the computer over here. So you're getting all the backstage stuff. And, well, YouTube does too, but it's a little less obvious because of the camera angle. But with YouTube or for Facebook Live, you're going to get to watch the whole show in its, well, whatever it is. So anyway, Suzanne will be following my show with the Wasatch Report. I'm not quite sure what she's got in store today, but I'm sure it'll be a very, very good show as usual. And as I said earlier, she'll cover everything from prepping to politics. So the Wasatch will be on at 10 a.m. This show will end about 5 minutes early, about 9:55. We will go off the air, and then we will reset everything and come right back with the Wasatch Report. And anyone that's out there new, this is the Paradigm Shift, and this is the Cerberus Radio Network, defending liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny. We've been doing this radio show, and I know there's new listeners because I can see them. We've been doing this radio show for about a little over a year now. We had an old radio name, then we've changed our name to become a little bit more a serious radio station. We are adding new shows. Suzanne, you might have to jump in here. I believe that Justin and Mike's show is called The Other Side. We're going to be adding them. There'll be evening show. They'll be at possibly live at about 9 p.m. every day. Right now we have live shows at 6 a.m. The Bailey Report. Daniel Bailey gives his trucker angle to the news. at 6 a.m. daily. My show is live every Monday at 9 a.m. Suzanne's live at 10 a.m. on Mondays, and other days as we post them. Radio Network, we're growing. Again, we've added new. Oh, well, that's interesting. It says I lost the Shoutcast. Just lost me. So you guys that are watching on Facebook and on YouTube, you're getting to see the show. I think we just lost the connection with radio.co. So we're not on the radio station. So that's very disconcerting. So anyway, back to what we're saying. We added the more episodes of Brushfires of Freedom. That's on at 1 p.m. daily. Our good friend Sean Hoffine. If you don't listen to Sean today at 1 p.m., you will be blown away. Sean is a great character, and he has great ideas. And immediately following him, because his show is about 45 to 47 minutes long, immediately following him is from Shift Gold podcast. It's the Friday Gold Wrap-Up. So if you want some economic news at about 1:45 every day, you'll get some Shift Gold, some Shift news. So 11 to 1, we have our good friend Mike Bahari, his podcast. There's about 6 podcasts that run in that 2-hour period. They're a little over 10 minutes long. Or about 10 minutes long. So we have a wide variety of people, and Mike Bahari is from the 10th Amendment Center. For those of you that have never listened before, we really talk about founding principles. We don't worry about the feelings of today. We want to go back to what is the founders and the framers said. So let's get right into what we do here. I have a couple of different stories. I have a story I want to start off with, other than the government shutdown. Let's start with something else. This was interesting because if you're like me, you never even heard about this. I found out about this, and I never even heard about it. So this was from. Well, this story is from the 22nd today, but I think it was over the weekend. 2 IEDs detonated in Eagle Ridge Mall in Florida. No one injured. So how many out there even knew that someone set off 2 IEDs in a mall in America? Well, no one's posting up any messages, so I'm guessing that everyone else didn't know about it either, because all we heard about was the government shutdown. Florida police are seeking a man who was seen running from a mall where 2 improvised explosive devices detonated Sunday, authorities said. Lake Wales Deputy Police Chief Troy Schultz told reporters that 2 pipe bombs appear to have detonated in a service corridor near JCPenney's store at Eagle Ridge Mall in Lake Wales, about 30 miles east of Tampa, at about 5:30 p.m., half hour before the mall was scheduled to close. No one was injured, but these things are still going on in these United States. So, again, we talk about everything from prepping the politics here on Cerberus, and it is one of these things. Oh, it's still trying to connect. I'm sorry. I'm trying to produce my show and do this at the same time, and it is not connecting to Radio Co. So anyway, it does come down to the fact that we here in America, we have to be situationally aware. We have to know what's going on around us. If we see strange things, we need to, perhaps not go anywhere near them. So, unfortunately, no one was injured. I suspect if it was in a service area, I suspect it was a disgruntled employee. He wasn't trying to hurt anyone. He was trying to make a point. But who knows? They'll find out. They'll end up getting the guy eventually, and we'll find out what it was. So, just interesting news that is out there, but not being talked about. The next thing, let's get right into the government shutdown. Of course, that's the big news. Everyone is losing their mind over the government being shut down. I suspected when I heard that they might shut down over the weekend that the media would immediately lose their mind and trot out an endless supply of people that are crying the blues over the government shutdown. And I was not disappointed on Sunday evening. I don't watch I don't watch the national broadcasters. We don't use the N word here often, but that's what they are. This is, let's be honest. The days of this being a union, a republic, are over. We are a one blobistan of America, not the United States, but we are the United State. So the media started trotting out. I had the misfortune of watching a few seconds of NBC, and the first thing I saw is some government worker crying the blues that she is going to have to shut down her IT department. And I was like, oh, good grief. If she's considered non-essential, how essential is she? How essential is that money being spent to what goes on in these United States? I mean, seriously, if they're so unessential that they can be shut down and furloughed, and we're going to pay them, she's going to get every penny. They're not going to be out a penny. So why she's crying? She's getting a paid vacation. I do not understand what the big deal is. So the government shutdown, they're trotting out these poor souls that are going to be put out by a government shutdown. And I heard this morning, now they're talking, there have people out there, oh, this park is closed. Well, there's a sign. Unlike last time, did the government put us closed? I don't think so. I know last time when there was a shutdown, they closed off everything. I mean, they put signs up, they put barricades up. They tried to keep World War II vets out of the mall at the World War II memorial. That was shameful. And this time, I did see a news piece where I think the vice president was on the mall. No, it was I think the Secretary of Defense. Excuse me. He was on the mall at the World War II memorial with a bunch of World War II vets walking around and showing them the memorial in spite of the government shutdown. So at least this time they're using a little bit of level head, and they're not trying to make a political statement out of it. Though they were. I mean, by him being out there, that was a political statement. So the government shut down. Do we really miss the government being shut down? It's only been shut down for a couple of days. And I don't believe anyone here has been materially hurt that badly yet. Now, I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. I have not looked into it. I don't know about the Social Security recipients, whether their checks are going to be going out. So there could be some people that are going to be very hurt by this. First question is, though, we are $21 trillion in debt. What is going to happen to people when the gravy train runs out, when it all comes crashing down because of the out-of-control spending, the out-of-control debt? I posted the other day on Facebook when they shut down, I said, just think what this $4 trillion, let that sink in, $4 trillion that they steal from the economy every year. Think what the peoples of these United States could do with that $4 trillion. Just think of the road repairs and stuff that your local community could do with that extra cash that's not being stolen by Washington, D.C. Think of all the other projects that can be done with the money not stolen by Washington, D.C. Someone out there is going to say, well, what about national defense? We have to defend ourselves. Well, you know what? At one time, that fell to the states. They had what was called the militias. And in a time of war, the militias we called up. We did not have a standing army that we sent to hundreds of bases all over the world, costing us $1 trillion a year to maintain an empire. We can have defense, and we can have a smaller government. We don't have to be spending. We don't have to have the national government, and that's what it is, a national government, not a representative government, a national government stealing $4 trillion. And I want to welcome everyone that's watching on Facebook Live to the Cerberus Radio Network. We defend liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny. We've had a lot of people come through, seeing us for the first time. We are on YouTube every day. If you don't watch the whole show and you want to catch the entire show, you can go to our YouTube site and you can watch all our shows. We have, last I knew, about 110 or 112 episodes of this show. The Renegade and Rambler show on Sunday night. We have the Wasatch Report. So there are multiple shows that you can watch on YouTube. You can listen to us live on radio.co. Our links are on our Facebook page. So if you want to listen to the show live on radio, which it's not live right now because I'm having some issues, and I suspect it has to do with me doing Facebook Live, because I've never had issues with Radio Co. link ups until today when I went with Facebook Live. So at the break is playing, live will end simply because I have to get back live on the radio. So if you go to our Facebook page, Cerberus Radio Network, you can find the links to the Radio Co. There is a low data one. So if you're on a short data leech, if you're on your phone, they're at work, you can still go to the low data link. It's a much lower bit rate, so it will use very little data, and you can listen live on there. So they're both listed. One is, it says it's the low data link, and the other one's just the regular, the high quality radio link. So at the break, I'm going to shut off the YouTube Live, or the Facebook Live. I appreciate everyone that came in and watched today, because this is how we're going to grow this network. Because we have, like I said, we have a whole bunch of new shows. Suzanne is getting great guests. Like I said, she had Dr. Michael T. George, a great author. I know she's going to have Arthur Bradley back on. He's awesome. She's going to have Dr. Bones back on. He does survival medicine. Again, we do everything from prepping to politics here. I know we have, a live show programming, a lot of the stuff. If you miss it, play on our radio.co or on our YouTube channel. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to play the music. I'm going to shut down Facebook Live. I'm sorry, folks, but I need to get connected back up to Radio Co. Thank you for watching this morning, and we're going to take a quick break. And when I come back, please go over to Radio Co. or go to our YouTube channel. We are streaming in. Everything's posted on our Facebook page. So I'm going to go to a break, and I'm going to shut you guys off. Sorry about that. And you are watching me do this live.
As the 21st century began, human evolution was at a turning point. Natural selection, the process by which the strongest, the smartest, the fastest reproduced in greater numbers than the rest, a process which had once favored the noblest traits of man, now began to favor different traits. Most science fiction of the day predicted a future that was more civilized and more intelligent. But as time went on, things seemed to be heading in the opposite direction. A dumbing down. How did this happen? Evolution does not necessarily reward intelligence. With no natural predators to thin the herd, it began to simply reward those who reproduced the most and left the intelligent to become an endangered species.
Cerberus Radio Network, protecting liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny.
Paradigm Shift, and we are live again back on Radio Co. We did have a short outage on Radio Co. On the Cerberus Radio Network, defending liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny. I'll tell you why it was. I tried something new today, and it's going to be a problem. I just don't have the sufficient ability with the my internet to run Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and stream to Radio Co. I tried to add in Facebook Live, and it caused an interruption on the Radio Co stream. So I'll have to figure something out. Don't know what yet. I don't have an ability to get a faster internet living out here in the middle of nowhere. So I'm not quite sure what we'll do. But what you missed on Radio Co., now that you have live radio, what you missed, we were discussing before the break. There was an IED set off in a mall in Florida, two of them actually, in a mall in Florida. And it basically missed the news. We started talking about the government shutdown, and we will get to Patrick Henry probably after the second break for the last segment of the show. Getting back, I'm going to get right back into the government shutdown. And before the break, what I was saying was that we had the media trotting out all the victims of a government shutdown, all the ones that are going to be furloughed because they're non-essential government employees. Last I knew, the word non-essential means they're really not necessary. They're not needed. But we have a make-work government. So we have a bunch of people that are working, taking money from the economy and producing nothing for the economy. Because honestly, you take the money from the productive and give it to somebody who's unproductive, you've created nothing. That money was already there. Just because you took it from them and gave it to them, it's a zero sum. They're not creating anything new but that money. I mean, does that make sense? It's a shame that Mike's not here. One of the new guys that's going to be on here, Mike and Justin. They'll be on evenings. They'll probably be on 9 p.m. Daily, either with a podcast or live. We're not quite sure their schedule. They have families. They have young kids. They're both high school teachers, so their schedule is pretty tight. So they may just do podcasts. And then they might break in. They're going to have the ability to break in and do live shows from 9 to 10 p.m. on Monday through Friday. So you may catch live shows. But Mike's the economist. He teaches AP economy in the high school, and I believe Justin is a history teacher. So they bring a unique perspective. I think their show is called The Other Side. So. Because this is all just been a whirlwind. We just talked to him the other night, so we are adding hopefully live content. And again, before the break, I was letting everyone know that at 1 p.m. every day, we have new episodes of Brush Fires of Freedom. If you haven't heard Sean Hoffine, listen to him. He's quite the character, but he has a great perspective. And then immediately following, because his is not an hour show. We have Shift Gold. We have the Friday Gold wrap up. So we are adding stuff. We're adding news. That's a new podcast we just added. So, and that's Mike Meharry. And again, from 11 to 12, Mike Meharry in the 10th Amendment Center has 2 hours of podcast. There's 6 in the 2 hours. And, so there's all kinds of stuff going on. And again, immediately following this show, I'm going to cut off about 9:55, and Suzanne will be on with the Wasatch Report at 10 a.m., hopefully sharp. So back to the shutdown. Again, like I said, they're trying out these people, crying the blues because the one lady I saw, and I just got this last night, I don't watch the network news. I can't stand the network news. And they had this lady on there crying the blues that she was going to have to go into her government agency today and shut down her IT because they're non-essential. Again, if she's not essential, why is she there? Just to suck up money from the productive. And like I said before the break, if we had that $4 trillion that the government steals from the productive every year, just imagine what we could do in our local areas with the money that they're no longer stealing. And we could still have defense. The states would go back to having a militia that could be called up in times when we were needed. We wouldn't be going all over the world being the world's policeman if we went back to the founding principles of having a state militia that was in charge of defending the state. And then if the state needed assistance, they'd ask the federal government would call up the militias, and then they would declare war in Washington, D.C. and finish the job and defend the states. It was all about defense. It wasn't about this whole idea of being the world, spreading our exceptionalism around the world. So it's just interesting. This is where I wanted to go with this whole thing. There was a time when conservatives actually believed in fiscal sanity, would actually believed in smaller government, less spending. Those days are long gone. And one thing I noticed was all the memes out there, all the red versus blue. The Democrats are awful. The Republicans are the saviors. We don't pull punches here. We make sure that we tell everyone that when someone's doing badly, if President Trump does something good, we'll praise him for doing something good. If he does something that's a bonehead thing, we call him a bonehead. We're not wed to this whole right-left Democrat-Republican paradigm. That's why we're the paradigm shift. We're trying to change that paradigm. We're trying to shift to a paradigm where we are all only concerned with liberty. Did any of you out there ever think about where we get the word liberal from? Because today, liberal has a very negative connotation. But in reality, when you want to think about it, the Jeffersons and Madison in their days were liberals. Because what were they trying to defend? Where's the root of liberal? It's liberty. If you read Patrick Henry, and we are going to get to him in a bit. When you read Patrick Henry, he says the government's primary objective is to defend liberty. It's not to provide welfare. It's not to be the world's policeman. It's not to send foreign aid dollars that they steal from us to every country in the world. No, it's to protect liberty. That is why we institute governments. And there was a time that Republicans actually believed that. But not anymore. Today, we have two sides of the same coin. The Republicans on one side, the Democrats on the other. They are all Marxists. They are all big government communists. They all believe in the 10 pillars of communism. They all believe that we need government. We need high progressive taxation. Again, they may debate over a percent here or a percent there. But in reality, is that a big deal? No, because they still are defending the high progressive tax. So we had this big tax debate. They lowered taxes for some of us, but did it really change anything? Do we still have a high progressive tax? Yes. That's one of the pillars of communism. You read Marx, his 10 pillars. A progressive tax is one of the 10 pillars. You read all the rest of the 10 pillars and tell me we aren't a communist nation. We are 100%. We are 10 for 10. So there was a time when Republicans actually believed in fiscal sanity, in smaller government. Those days are long gone. So the whole notion that Republicans are somehow defending our liberty and freedom by fighting for bigger spending. does this make any sense, folks? I mean, really, be honest about this. By defending big government, that used to be who the Democrats were. The Democrats were the ones always defending big government. Now we have Republicans. We have people all over Facebook posting memes, decrying the Democrats because whatever. And the Republicans are defending big government and big spending. So I was thinking about this. I'm going to read you a quote. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen it because I posted it. And I'm sure some of you are old enough to remember this quote. In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. That was from the inaugural address of one Ronald Wilson Reagan on January 20th, 1980. It was exactly 37 years to the day to the shutdown. And we had all these people on Facebook decrying the Democrats, defending government. We need government open. We need big spending. We need big taxes. We need government. And I bet you a lot of you that are old enough to remember that, and I am. I voted. That was my very first election. I turned 18, and I was able to vote in Ronald Reagan's first election. So, I bet you a lot of you back in, if you're old enough to remember that, back in 1980, we're sitting there shaking your head. Yeah. He's right. Government is the problem. Yet today, you're posting memes saying that the Democrats are evil for shutting down government. And perhaps they are. I'm not going to debate what the merits are, because in reality, why they're shutting it down all over illegal aliens is ludicrous anyway. But we have Republicans screaming and crying because they're shutting government down, shutting down the spending. I kept posting, shut it down and don't open it. Leave it shut. We'll be better off. The problem is it's not going to stay shut long. It'll be just long enough to make their political point. And then what will happen? It'll be business as usual. Everyone will be happy. They're all back to work. And it'll be, the political theater will be over. And in the end, we'll have all these illegal aliens collecting their big welfare checks, their housing checks, their food stamps, and everything else at our expense. And it'll be business as usual. They'll continue to steal the $4 trillion from us. Matter of fact, I heard one of the things they're talking about doing is Trump's going to get full funding for his wall on the southern border, and at the tune of, 20 some or 30 some $billion. And so we're talking about, we'll all agree on it. We'll spend more. That's how they're going to come to an agreement. They're going to spend more. Is there anyone out there that does not see the insanity of this whole thing? Again, going back to it, we're $21 trillion in debt. I had someone ask me, so, well, we have to have our military. We have to have defense. I said, how much defense are we going to have when it all collapses down because of the unsustainable and massive debt? It's going to be gone. There'll be $0 for any of it. What are we going to have then? That's why this is all important. That's why here at Cerberus Radio Network, where we defend liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny, that's why we keep saying we need to go back to those founding principles. We need to go back to having our states with militias. Today, they're called National Guards, which works. If you want to call them National Guards, call them National Guards. I don't care. But it's under the control of the states. It's people in that state defending that state, there for disasters in that state. And if there was an invasion, then you call up the other militias, the other National Guards, and the general government declares war, and you defend these borders in these United States. That was the whole purpose. But today, we have to have $1 trillion stolen from us so we can have a world's police department. We can be in 170 of the 100 or 200 nations on this planet have bases in them, to the tune of like 900 bases in those 170 countries. Let's get back to a little bit of fiscal sanity. We don't need all of what we have. We do not need to be the army for every country. We are a mercenary force around the world. Britain doesn't have to have as big an army or an air force or navy as they have, because we're there to be their mercenary force. We're there to defend them. Germany doesn't need to have an army, doesn't have to have a big air force, because why? We're there defending them. France doesn't. Israel doesn't. You name the country. We're in, like I said, we're in 170 of them. And some of them we're in wars in. That we have never declared war. Niger, Syria, Iraq. There's no new declaration of war. But we're bombing people and killing people in them without a declaration of war. Spending, again, trillions of dollars in wars that we never declared. It's time to get back to a little bit of Reagan and realize that government is not the solution. Government is the problem. That will require people to be a little bit honest with themselves. That they've made peace with big government. They've made peace with socialism that they are happy with in their life. Don't take my government money. Don't take my benefit. People have made peace with their little level of socialism. It's time. If that's where you're happy at, then we are at crossroads. Because if most people are happy with their socialism, then we are a socialist nation, and there's no hope. And we are definitely one nation, indivisible, and we're pretty much screwed, because it's going to fall apart. Look at Venezuela. That's what we'll be. Because at some point, they'll run out of other people's money. That famous quote from Margaret Thatcher. They will eventually run out of other people's money. We won't have defense. We won't have anything. And all these people that are on the dole won't be getting a check anymore. And look what's going on in Venezuela. The riots. The military putting the people down. That's what's going to look like here. Don't think it won't. Probably 3 days. Within 3 days, civil unrest would take over here, because there would be no food in the grocery stores, no trucks bringing food in. There would be nothing going on. That's why, again, we talk about prepping here, because if something like that happens, are you going to be prepared to live through that, to thrive, as Suzanne says? It's not about surviving, it's about thriving. So, here we are. We're at the next break. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. And after the break, we'll get into a little bit of Patrick Henry at the ratification debates. We're going to go to a speech of his on June 5th, 1788, in this discussion about ratifying the Constitution that was passed at the Philadelphia Convention in 1787. So this is the Cerberus Radio Network, defending liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny, and you are listening to The Paradigm Shift. See you after this short break. Producing the show. Well, considering that the break somewhere disappeared, oh, here we go. We'll play this one.
Cerberus Radio Network, protecting liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny.
You know I never seen you look so good. You never act the way
Well,
you should.
welcome back to the Paradigm Shift here on the Cerberus Radio Network, defending liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny. So today has not gone off without a hitch on the producing end. We tried some new technology. We tried to run some Facebook live while doing everything else live, and it just did not work. Perhaps what I will have to try next time, and I'll try it again. I am going to try this. I'm going to try to make this work. I think what I'll do is perhaps YouTube video will go away for a while, at least if I do some Facebook Live. I'll shut the video streaming down. You'll be able to hear the show on YouTube, but just won't be watching it. And I'll do Facebook Live, and then maybe that streaming will be not doing video on both. Maybe it'll work out a little bit better. So we talked a little bit about there's 2 pipe bombs that were set off down in Florida. We talked about the government shutdown, and so now let's get back to what I think we do sometimes the best here, and talk about the framers and some founding principles. All too many people only know Patrick Henry for one line: give me liberty or give me death. Patrick Henry, in his day, they called him the great orator, because he gave great speeches. And I'll put it up here for you on YouTube. You can see it. This is the speech he gave on June 5, 1788. And you can see it's pretty densely packed. 8-page. This is 8 typed pages. This is one speech. And that wasn't the only speech he gave that day, I would be willing to bet. Because after he got done with this, probably James Madison or one of the others that were supporting the Constitution would get up and try to rebut what he just said. 8 pages. This man spoke a lot. And all the public schools will teach you is give me liberty or give me death. That is the sum total of his life. He was governor of Virginia for many years, many terms. He served in their House of Burgesses. He was a very, very important figure. He was very instrumental in the Virginia declaring its independence in May of 1776. It declared its independence before July of 1776, when the 13 colonies declared independence. And he was very, very instrumental in that. So this is a speech before the Virginia Ratifying Convention. Again, like I said, it's June 5th, 1788. And Mr. Henry got up and he's going to address the assembly at this point. And he starts off, Mr. Chairman, I am much obliged to the very worthy gentleman for his encomium. It's a word I'm not familiar with, and I'm sure you're not either. For most of you aren't. I wish I was possessed with talents or possessed with anything that might enable me to elucidate this great subject. I am not free from suspicion. I am apt to entertain doubts. I rose yesterday to ask the question which arose in my mind. When I asked that question, I thought the meaning of my interrogation was obvious. The fate of this question and of America may depend on this. Have they said, we, the states, have they made a proposal of a compact between the states, between states? If they had, this would be a confederation. It is otherwise most clearly a consolidated government. The question turns, sir, on that poor little thing, the expression, we the people, instead of the states of America. I need not take much pains to show that the principles of this system are extremely pernicious, impolitic, and dangerous. Is this a monarchy like England, a compact between a prince and people with checks on the former to secure the liberty of the latter? Is this a confederacy like Holland, an association of a number of independent states, each which retain its individual sovereignty? It is not a democracy wherein the people retain all their rights securely. Had these principles been adhered to, we should not have been brought to this alarming transition from a confederacy to a consolidated government. We have no detail of these great consideration, which, in my opinion, ought to have abound before we should recur to a government of this kind. Here is a resolution as radical as that which separated us from Great Britain. It is radical in this transition. Our rights and privileges are endangered, and the sovereignty of the states will be relinquished. And cannot we plainly see that this is actually the case? The rights of conscience, trial by jury, liberty of the press, all our immunities and franchises, all our pretensions to human rights and privileges are rendered insecure, if not lost by this change, so loudly talked of by some and inconsiderately by others. Is this tame relinquishment of our rights worthy of free men? Is it worthy of that manly fortitude that ought to characterize Republicans? And that's a small r, not capital R. That wasn't a reference to a party. That was a reference to republicanism, where you have a bunch of small republics that are compacted together and have a confederated government to act as an agent. That's what it is said 8 states have adopted this plan. I declare that if 12 states and a half had adopted it, I would, with manly firmness, and in spite of an erring world, reject it. You are not to inquire how your trade may be increased, nor how you are to become a great and powerful people, but how your liberties can be secured. For liberty ought to be the direct end of your government. So earlier in the show, I talked about that liberty is the primary goal of government, defending liberty. And this is where I get that idea from. Patrick Henry said that at this last of this part of this paragraph. You're not to inquire how your trade may be increased. And today, that's really, what are all these corporations that go to government, get laws written, and have all these big contracts, getting trillions of dollars over the years from the people of the states? What are they asking? They're not asking for to protect liberty. They're asking to increase how to increase their trade. I mean, be honest. Let's not pull punches on this. I mean, they are here. They go to Washington D.C. They have K Street is full of lobbyists from all these corporations. For what reason? To increase their trade, not to prevent our liberty, to increase their trade. Nor how you become a great and powerful people. Okay, again, be honest. Do we have a republic or do we have an empire? As I said earlier, we have military in about 170 nations, almost 1,000 bases in those nations that we have our armies in. Is that a republic or is that an empire? We now are more concerned with being a great and powerful people than defending liberty. But on the contrary, this is what Henry says. Again, I'm reading that sentence again because it is a powerful statement. It's something that we need to start figuring out today. because, like I said, 21 trillion. That's not going away. They can't pay it off, and they just keep adding to it. And everyone's out there defending big government today because of the shutdown. We can't shut down. Think of all the people that are out of their jobs, are filling from their jobs. Probably crocodile tears. But instead of what we have today, this is what he says we should have. But how your liberties can be secured. For liberty ought to be the direct end of your government. This government does not defend your liberty. You have 9 people in black dresses that are politically collected lawyers that constantly pass new laws from the bench. They don't protect liberty. They are complicit in the destruction of the states and the destruction of our liberty. All right, I'm out of time because I have to shut down because Suzanne will be on in just 5 minutes. The Wasatch Report will be on, and we will pick up from there, I'm sure. Suzanne, I'm not quite sure, again, what she's going to has in store for the next hour, but please don't miss it. Thank you for listening, and thank you for those of you that, for the first time, started listening on Facebook Live. And again, I'm going to have to figure out some logistics there. I have to figure out how we can make that work because, quite honestly, we had a lot of new listeners on Facebook Live. So thank you for listening. This is The Paradigm Shift on the Cerberus Radio Network, protecting liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny.